Alright, so today I have a JVC SVHS. Not a Super VHS, separated Luma and Chroma. It was capable of recording up to 400 lines horizontal resolution as compared to approximately 200 to 250 lines on a regular VHS, but it was never meant as a Super VHS. And so what makes this unit special is this is an industrial VCR. And you can tell by the power cord. Look at the size of that, and look at that. It's got a 3-prong grounded cord. Most consumer VHS machines only have a single 2-prong cord. Let's look at the back of it. Okay, so the first thing is for commercial use only. Well, I don't think they're going to really enforce that, but anyhow, looking back over here a little bit farther, no antenna inputs whatsoever, and it has an RS-232 communication port as well as a proprietary remote jack. It does have the YC, Y for luminance, C for chroma, in and out. It has audio video monitor out and standard composite audio and video input and output. So RA edit and serial remote. These machines were most likely used in some type of a duplication facility where they may have several hundred of these connected and they can duplicate hundreds of tapes at a single time. So let's go ahead and let's just pop the top on it and take a look inside and see what it looks like. Alright, so here's a quick look at the inside of it. It looks like a pretty nicely designed machine. One thing you don't see in consumer machines is the ground screws over here and a big ground bar to ground the top of the case to shield RF interference. So I haven't plugged this in yet, so I don't even know what it's doing. This unit was shipped into me from New Jersey, and there's no note in the box. So we're just going to have to plug it in and see what it does. Maybe it's dead, maybe it eats tapes, maybe it's got a distorted picture. I don't know. Let's find out together. So I haven't done this before, but let's take a close look at the video cylinder. So right here is one of the heads. This is actually the flying erase head. So it erases 2 tracks of video and hi-fi audio at the same time. So right here is one of the double azimuth video heads, and if you look very closely, you'll see 2 coils of wire, a yellowish coil and a reddish coil, and that's because there's actually 2 video heads in here. There's an SP head that records at approximately 48 microns track width, and an EP head that records at 19 microns track width. Coming around a little bit farther, there's the hi-fi audio head. Now this head records over the top of the video signal, but it records at such a drastic angle. At playback, the video heads can't distinguish the hi-fi heads because the video track is recorded at a +6 and -6 degree azimuth. The hi-fi track is recorded at a +27 and -27 degree azimuth. So they're recorded on top of each other. They called hi-fi audio depth recording because it recorded underneath the video tracks. We've got the dual azimuth SP and EP video heads, and then another hi-fi audio head, and then coming around once again, we've got the full erase head. Now I haven't even touched the cylinder other than the very top of it just to rotate it, but I noticed there's a lot of fingerprints on the drum assembly, so I don't know what might have been going on there at one time, but it does have an inordinate amount of fingerprints. Anyhow, I thought I'd just give you this real quick tip on video heads. Okay, well here's what I got. I've got a tape. Let's go ahead and put it in. Cylinder starts. It never loads the tape. Now the cylinder is coasting back down. Can push the tape out, power it up. Same exact thing, never loads the tape. I never see the loading motor move over here whatsoever, but on some of these machines the loading motor only worked the mechanism. On some of these units the cassette carriage assembly over here was operated by the capstan motor. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this in a different position, and I'll zoom in on the capstan motor shaft, and when I put the tape in we'll see if it turns. Alright, so I'm zoomed in on the capstan shaft, and I'm going to go ahead and insert the tape now. And the capstan shaft turns, but it never takes the tape in. So that leads me to believe that either we've got a broken belt, we've got a pulley that came off of the capstan flywheel, or we've got some gear issues. So we're going to have to pull this thing apart, get the mechanism out of it so we can get to the bottom of it and look and see what condition the capstan shaft and drive belt are in. Alright, so I have the mechanism out of the unit, and I have it flipped upside down right now. Here's the capstan motor shaft, and here's the real drive slash tape carriage loading reel right here, it's working fine. I can manually move the carriage in and out. You can kind of see it moving in and out right down here. But the problem is this gear is never engaging with this gear. If I manually move it forward, then it engages no problem. So something is keeping it from engaging. Does it have a broken tab? Is there a broken spring? A missing spring? I don't know. I'm going to have to pull the carriage off completely and get to the bottom of this mechanism to see what makes it tick. Okay, so right there it is. There is supposed to be a tab on this with a spring that pulls this lever back like that. There's the spring. It's just not connected anymore. I wonder if I pull this mechanism apart, if there'd be enough room where I could just lift this up just a little tiny bit. It's supposed to connect to this little flimsy tab. Maybe I can hook the spring underneath this if I can lift it up enough. Hard to say, there's just not a lot of room to do anything. Anyhow, I'll do my best to try to get this thing going for my customer. Okay, so what I ended up doing here is I just unbent the other end of the spring, so I tried to keep it as flat as possible. So it's only going to lift this up by the diameter of the spring plus a couple thousandths, and the diameter of the spring is only about 20 thousandths, so it's only going to lift this plastic up off the mechanism about 30 thousandths at the most. So it's still going to be pretty flat right here. And I kept the orientation of the spring correct because when this thing is in the unit, the hook hooks in this fashion like that, and it pulls the spring back. So even though there's not a lot of meat on here, it's still going to be a ton stronger than this little wimpy tab that was on here from the factory. So let's go ahead and put this back in it. Okay, so how this operates is I've got this slider out of here right now, but what the slider does is this area right here, this angled area, actually pushes this forward like so. And so when this is pushed forward, it disengages this gear from this gear right here. As long as it's retracted, then the two are one. Let me turn it over here, and you can see those two gears operate the same right now. And then after the tape loads, this pushes away and allows this to independently operate the take-up reel and the supply reel over here. So I think this is going to be a permanent fix. Okay, so now as you can see, the gear is spring loaded, so that when this rotates, it's going to rotate this gear, which in turn, when the belt is on here, is going to rotate this gear, which is going to move the carriage in and out to accept the tape. So let's go ahead and clean these belts up, make sure they're in good shape when I ship this back to the customer in New Jersey. Well, I don't think there's going to be any deoxit in this episode, but there is going to be some acetone. We're going to clean the belts with some acetone. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and put it back together now and see if it works. So I'll just put a tape in it by hand. I'm just going to rotate the capstan motor by hand. And it does accept the tape now. Let's go ahead and bring it back out. And we'll put the mechanism back on the circuit board and fire it up. Well, I was wrong. There's going to be deoxit. We're going to go ahead and clean these three switches down here. Because I've had problems with these in the past. Spray them and work them a little bit. Let's put the circuit board and the mechanism back in it now. Alright, here we go. Power on. Let's put a tape in it. It loads. Let's hit play. I heard something for a second. Let's take a look at the monitor. Okay, this one threw me for a loop. So if I hit play, you can see I get a little bit of video and then it goes to no signal. But if I hit search, look at that. It searches fine, but I have this black bar in the middle of the picture. And then when I go back to play, it plays for a second and then it mutes. Go back to search. Look at that. The picture actually looks pretty good, except for that black bar in the center of the picture. If I pause it like that, you see the black bar in the center. So that's telling me the head switching is off. It's off by like 90 degrees. Let me show you what I found to be the problem. Okay, so we're going to pull the top. This is the motor drive, not the video head itself. So we'll pop this off. And so the way this thing recognizes where the cylinder is by these three Hall effect transistors right here. U, V, and W. And it looks at where the magnet rotation is, and it uses that to determine when to switch the heads off. You want the head off when it's back here behind the tape, and then you want the head to turn back on right over here somewhere so it reads the entire tape all the way around. We'll use this set of heads for example. You can see the tape path right here. The tape is contacting the head right here, but now there's no tape contacting the head. So the machine has to be able to tell when to switch this head off and when to switch this head on. You can just barely see the screws over here. So it has to know to turn this head on, read the tape as it comes around here, turn this head off right here, and turn this head back on over here to continue reading the tape. So it does that every 180 degrees. The problem is, when I showed you that video and I paused it, it had that big black bar right across the middle of the picture, right about here. And that's telling me the head switching is off by 90 degrees. So what I did is I put a witness mark here and a witness mark right here, so I know where the alignment is. So let's go ahead and pop these loose. I want you to pay particular attention to this hole right here. Okay, so notice that the hole right here is straight up right now. So I'm going to pull the magnet off of the motor. And I want you to notice that this hole, it's 90 degrees off. So let me rotate this 90 degrees. I'm going to put this back on exactly the way it was. And look at that. That hole lines up with the hole in the head itself. So let's go ahead and put the two screws back in here now. Now there's supposed to be an alignment jig where you put a pin down in this hole and it aligns this perfectly, but we're going to do the best we can. But you can see now that that hole is aligned with the hole in the cylinder drum itself. So let's go ahead and reassemble the motor assembly. We'll put the two screws back in it. I'm going to switch the power back on. We'll hit power. We'll hit play. And I'll do this in real time. I'm going to go ahead and zoom the camera out. And then I'm going to tip the camera up and rotate it over to where my video monitor is. Let me turn off my overhead lights and take a look at that. Let me zoom in on it now. There it is, look at that. Absolutely perfect. Let's go ahead and search now. Look at that, no black bar in the picture any longer. We'll pause it. Perfect still frame, play. It looks absolutely great. This machine must have been through an exceptional time to have somebody tear off the cylinder motor drive assembly and reclock the motor to the video head. Anyhow, I got it figured out. It's working great. I want to give a special shout out to those people who have supported my channel and made a donation on my PayPal donate button. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and liking this video. It really helps my channel grow. Remember, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at NorCal715. You can email me, norcal715videos@gmail.com. Remember, with your help, we can keep these things out of the landfill, out of the e-waste facility, and out of the recycle bin. Go ahead and leave me a comment, a question, a suggestion. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. I really appreciate you watching this video. Everybody have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.